Hi everyone, welcome to Chapter 6, Reading 4. This is continuing the story of Romulus and Remus that we started in the last chapter. If you remember, Romulus and Remus were raised by a wolf and found by a shepherd, and at this point they are all grown up. I've included the vocabulary before the passage for you to refer to, but you should have your book open, or if don't watch this in full screen and have the vocab somewhere else on the screen so you can see it and refer to it as we go through the passage. Romulus et Remus nunc viri erant. Pretty straightforward sentence. The one thing to look out for is you have a compound subject, two singular nouns, and a plural predicate. And of course the two singular nouns, the compound subject, will equal that plural predicate. Otherwise, pretty straightforward. Alba tunc erat latio caput, et amulis regnabat. Watch out for latio. It's a dative, but it's going to be translated like a genitive with caput. And regnabat, in the second half of the sentence, you're going to see imperfect verbs throughout the passage, but really they're going to be translated like perfect verbs in English. So rather than was ruling, it's going to be ruled. And that'll hold for all of the imperfect verbs throughout the passage. Said Romulus, urbem noam aedificara optabat et regnare. First, watch out for the Romulus urbem noam. This is where Latin word order can come into play. One of the nouns is one case, the other noun is another case. Don't put those nouns together. Remember, you're going to need a verb in between them in English for it to make sense. You also in the sentence have two infinitives, aedificara and regnare. Remember, you're going to need a verb to be in charge of those infinitives, to allow you to translate those infinitives. Make sure to know what optabat means and how that's going to relate to the infinitives. You're also going to have an understood object with regnare. It'll be the same as with aedificara. Latin won't necessarily repeat nouns if it doesn't have to. Romulus et Remus, Deus concilium orabant, gemini enim erant. Deus and concilium are both accusative here. They're separate nouns. It's what's called a double accusative. Figure out how that's going to be translated with orabant. When we translate that into English, you'll hear that there's an opportunity for two different nouns. So make those two nouns, Deus and concilium, work in English with the way that orabant is translated. De oraculum dabant, vultorios expectate. Watch the ending on expectate. It's not a form that we see too frequently. That is the imperative. And really, the force of the imperative is as if the narrator is talking to Romulus and Remus. So the plural there, the te plural imperative, that's going to be Romulus and Remus. So the narrator is almost turning to them to say, expectate vultorios. Remus primus paucos vultorios, tum Romulus multos vultorios videbat. The two halves of the sentences are contrasted with primus paucos and then multos, both of which go with vultorios. So Remus videbat paucos vultorios primus, tum Romulus videbat multos vultorios. And what we'll see is that the multos vultorios takes precedent, is a more positive sign from the gods than the paucos vultorios primus. Romulus igitur geminum superabat, et Remus miser erat. The geminum is Romulus's fratrem. It's not a new geminum, it's not a separate geminum, it's Romulus's geminum, also of course his fratrem. So you're going to need some sort of possessive with that, his, something like that. Romulus moenia aedificabat, sed propter magnitudinem parvam, Remus ridebat, et facile trans moenia ambulabat. Romulus has won the contest of the vultures. His omen is considered better, so he gets to build the city. So now he's aedificabat the moenia. Remus makes fun of his moenia and essentially insults Romulus, and that's what the third part of the sentence is describing. Et facile trans moenia ambulabat. Magnitudinem, you might see the English word magnitude in there. Not incorrect. We certainly get that word, that English word, from magnitudinem, but make sure you check the vocab. There's a good word for it in this context. Romulus magna cum ira clamabat et geminum necabat. Be careful of the magna here. You can see that it can't agree with Romulus. That US ending on Romulus and that A ending, that long A ending on magna, can't go together, can't agree. So what else can magna agree with that's going to be its same gender, number, and case. Geminum Nakabat is exactly what it sounds like. Romulus takes revenge on his twin for insulting the walls, laughing at them, and ultimately walking over them. Because of the spate of Marvel movies, the notion of an origin story is very common. We hear the origin stories of these superheroes from comic books, they make movies out of them, etc. The story of Romulus and Remus in many ways is an origin story for the city of Rome. In fact, in the 1st century BC, when Rome was undergoing civil war, Romans looked to the Romulus and Remus story and identified the historical precedent for those civil wars in the fratricide, the killing of one's brother, that Romulus committed on Remus. This is one of the most important stories in Roman history and sets a lot of precedents for later Rome that they would identify in this earlier story.